Um, this is, with also the fact that it has variations in the distribution of rainwater when it does rain. And this is how we got to the topic that we have this afternoon, because we have been experiencing persistent droughts in some areas of the country, even though a few years ago, a larger margin of the country did receive some fresh and highly welcomed rain. In the studio today, I have panelists from the OPM as well as the three different regions that have been highly impacted and continue to be impacted by this drought. Please do note that our COVID update will be given a bit later on in the show, but you are welcome to call us at 1:30 to give your views and add your voice to the discussion. And the number there is 061 4000397. Our call-in number is 061 4000397. You can also find us on our social media platforms. Our YouTube channel is MICT Namibia. That's on YouTube. And with Facebook, you can find us at Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. As I said, today's topic, we are looking at the persistent drought in some parts of Namibia, and we have Ms. Helen Likando, and she is the Director for Disaster Risk Management at the Office of the Prime Minister. She is with us in the studio this afternoon. Good afternoon, Ms. Helen, and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
And then we also have Mr. Joseph Ausiku. He is the Chief Administrative Officer for the Disaster Risk Management Section for the Omusati Regional Council. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, madam.
Thank you very much. Today, as the Ministry of Information, we are embracing technology, and online from the Erongo region, we have Mr. Wahorekwa Usurwa, and he is the Regional Head for the Directorate of Water Supply and Sanitation Coordination at the Erongo Regional Council. Good afternoon, sir. We also have Mr. Manuel Shongora, who is the Chief Administrative Officer for the Disaster Risk Management Section with the Kunene Regional Council. Good afternoon, gentlemen, and thank you for being with us this afternoon. To jump into this topic, we would like to ask Ms. Likando, are there any programs that are carried out during times of rainfall that can be utilized to assist communities during the drought spells? We're looking at programs like rainwater harvesting, the replenishing of aquifers, or even the optimal usage of the Kavango River, because some of these regions, have a border with the Kunene River, pardon me.
Thank you. There is a project called the Improved Rangeland and Ecosystem Management, IREMA, which is funded by the Green Climate Fund through the Environmental Investment Fund. It's jointly being implemented by the Environmental Investment Fund with the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, together with Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. Among some of the projects or activities being rolled out through this project addresses the vulnerability of smallholder farmers from prolonged drought periods through floodwater harvesting and groundwater recharge. So yes, there are such programs taking place, but they are being implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture, specifically in the regions of Kunene, Omusati, and Erongo regions.
Okay. It's good to know that something is happening, even though the persistence and recurrence of drought really makes one question whether or not these programs are in place. So we are glad to know that there is something that is taking place to try and mitigate these issues. We go to our regional representatives, and we would like each one of you to give us just an update or an overview of the current drought situation in your regions at the moment. How has it affected elements such as food security, grazing, the health of the residents in your region? We can start off with Mr. Ausiku. Mm-hmm.
impacted almost the whole region.
Mm.
Although there are 5 constituencies which are more impacted and benefiting in the drought relief programs.
Mm.
These constituencies are Drought,
Sandi, Okahao, Ruakana, and Onesi. Currently, these are the 5 constituencies in Omsati under the program of the drought relief. Drought also impacted the region in terms of water. To make also the matter worse, because in rural areas, most people are dependent on the groundwater or in the earth dams, or in the well which they dig themselves. And there are also taps or potable water extended by the rural water supplier in the villages. However, the situation become worse because of the low pressure of water from the supplier. And as a result, people now are depending on ferrying water. NAM water, rural water supply, including the traditional authority, or people might pay the money in terms of getting water to their community as well as to their animals.
Okay.
This is a serious problem. And as a result, again, we have Karweke Dam, which is supplying Omsati and other parts of Oshana region and the Oshikoto regions. And this canal is under the rehabilitation now, currently, as we are speaking. It's 7 kilometers, and it's under the rehabilitation. And now, as a result, in many times, the supplier or the distribution of water to the community is so minimal, where you find that people might also sleeping, because water can run during the night, can sleep at the water points, waiting for some water, maybe it can come or not.
Yeah.
But it's very worrisome. Yeah, and as a result also, the Ministry of Agriculture in Omsat region under the rural water supplier, they are rehabilitating, they are having a program of installing new boreholes, drilling new boreholes, cleaning and rehabilitate earth dams, so that they can normalize the situation. However, this is an ongoing program, not that can be finished in a month. It is ongoing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you drill, you may find that there is no water. All water is salty, which is not fit for human consumptions. And as a result, you may end up where you are having children or some people having yellowish teeth
Yes.
as a result of that water, which is not fit
For human
for
consumption.
humans. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why they are trying by all means to come up with boreholes where water is salty. They go a little bit far away from that places and drill, like at Onamatanga now and at Okatumba in the Ruakana constituency and Sandi constituency. They happen now to drill borehole. It's under the process. However, so that like people at Namatanga, because of salt water, can get water through the pipeline from where the boreholes was
Okay.
drilled. Yeah.
So basically, it's a worrisome situation in
Yeah.
Umsati region, even though that there are a few projects that are ongoing to try and help the residents out. It is projects that are going to take some time. Let us find out from the Kunene region. Mr. Shongora, how is the situation currently in your region? Mr. Manuel, are you still with us? Okay, while we wait for Mr. Shongora to get back online with us, we would like to move on then to Mr. Usurwa. He is the the head there at the Water Supply and Sanitation Coordination from the Erongo Regional Council. Let us hear what his situation is in the Erongo region. Good afternoon, Mr. Osura. I guess technology there is trying to play tricks on us this afternoon. While we have put our technical team on that, let us ask Mr. Ben Nangombe to give us the COVID update for this afternoon and hear what the numbers look like. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you very much for gracing us with your with your presence, pardon me. How do the numbers look like for yesterday, which I believe was the 2nd of February?
Well, we announced 61 new positive 19 cases
Mm-hmm.
from 921 results received over the last 24-hour reporting cycle. This represents a positivity ratio of 6.6%. Out of the total confirmed cases, 58 are new cases and 3 are infections. The sex distribution is 33 females, of which 32 are new cases, and 28 males, of which 26 are new cases. The age ranges from 3 years to 103 years. The distribution of the cases is as follows. Commerce region, 16 cases at Windhoek. Uchodonjupa region, 10 cases, 5 at Grootfontein. Uchivarongo, 3, and Okahanja, 2. Zambezi region, 8 cases at Katima Mlilo. Erongo region, 7 cases, Walvis Bay, 3, Usakos, 3, and Swakopmund, 1. Oshakati has 6 cases, or rather Oshana has 6 cases at Oshakati. Karas region, 4 cases, Luderes 2, Karasberg 1, and Kietmanshoop 1. Umsati region, 3 cases, Outapi 3. Umsati region has 3 cases, Outapi 2, and Tsandi 1. Ohangwena 1 case at Enana, Oshikoto 1 case at Onanjokwe, Kavango East 1 case at Rundu, Hardap region 1 case at Rioboth. We are reporting cases from 11 regions, with most regions reporting less than 10 cases. Among the confirmed cases, 6 are learners from different schools, 4 health workers, and 3 teachers. 3 cases have received 1 dose of COVID-19 vaccine, and 11 are fully vaccinated, of which 1 has received a booster dose. 46 cases are not vaccinated, accounting for 75.4% of the confirmed cases. 151 cases from 11 regions have recovered. Omaheke region, 84 cases have recovered. Oangwena 22, Umsati 12, Zambezi 12, Koma 6, Karas and Oshikoto 5 each, Kunene 2, and Kavango West, Ochodonjupa and Oshana 1 case each. The number of active cases now stand at 8,021. 95 are currently hospitalized across 12 regions, except for Omaheke and Kavango West. 2 of the hospitalized cases have received 1 dose of COVID-19 vaccine. 6 are fully vaccinated, while 87 are not vaccinated, accounting for 91.6% of all hospitalized cases. 10 cases are in intensive care unit, and none of those are vaccinated. The distribution of the hospitalizations is as follows. Komas 17, Umsati 16, Ohangwena and Erongo 12 each, Oshana 10, Kunene 7, Zambezi 5, Oshikoto and Hardap 4 each, Kavango East and Karas 3 each, and Ochodonjupa 2. We are reporting 0 deaths today. As of February 1st, 2022, a total of 419,282 people aged 18 years and older have received 1 dose of COVID-19 vaccine, representing 28.5% of the total eligible population of 1.4 million. A total of 114,804 have received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, while 244,975 adults have received 2 doses of other types of COVID-19 vaccine. Hence, 359,779 adults have completed their vaccination schedule, translating to 24.4% of the target population. 4,245 children aged between 12 and 17 have received 1 dose of the Pfizer vaccine, representing 1.4% of the target population of 307,298. Of these, 1,047 are fully vaccinated. Therefore, the cumulative number of people vaccinated with the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine for both adults and children is 423,527, of which 360,826 are fully vaccinated, translating to 20.3% of the target population of 1.7 million. 17,000 persons have to date received the booster dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. By way of the national summary, the cumulative cases are now 156,102 newly confirmed cases. Is this correct? Newly confirmed cases, 158. That cannot be correct. Needs to be corrected. The number of new infections, 3. Cumulative cases including reinfections, 158,123. Recoveries, 146,114. Recovery rate is now 93.5%. Active cases, 8,021. The cumulative first dose administered, 423,527. The cumulative second dose, 246,022. The vaccination schedule completed, 360,826. COVID deaths, 3,649. COVID-related deaths, 324. Total deaths cumulatively, 3,973. Total samples tested, 925,250. Active contacts, 1,459. Number of people quarantined cumulatively, 87,141. Those discharged, 86,933. Those currently in quarantine, 208. That concludes the update for this afternoon. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nangombe. That was the Executive Director in the Ministry of Health and Social Services, just giving us the COVID update for the 2nd of February. And it is good that for once in a long time, we record 0 deaths during these updates. And that also just reminds us of how it is important for us as a nation to pull together to try and fight this COVID-19 and its impact on our societies. You are reminded to continuously disinfect your surfaces, wash your hands with soap and running water, sanitize, and also practice social distancing. This afternoon's topic, we are looking at the persistent drought in some parts of Namibia, and we are having a focus on the Kunene region, or Musati, as well as the Erongo regions that have continued to be impacted by the drought. You are reminded that you can also add your opinions, your views, and even pose questions to our panelists. Our telephone line is 061, that's the area code for the central region, and the line or the number is 400-397. The number is 400-397 with an area code of 061. You can find us on our social media platforms at YouTube, or on YouTube. We are at MICT Namibia. MICT Namibia, that's the YouTube channel. And with Facebook, we are the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia, Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. Continuing with our panelists, as we said, we have Ms. Helen Likando. She is from the Office of the Prime Minister. We also have Mr. Joseph Ausiku, who is the Chief Administrative Officer in the Disaster Risk Management section from the Omusati region. On the line, we have Mr. Manuel Shongora, who is the Chief Administrative Officer with the Disaster Risk Management section from the Kunene region. And we also have Mr. Wahorekwa Usurwa, and he is the regional head for the water supply and sanitation coordination at the Erongo Regional Council. Earlier on, we did ask Mr. Ausiku with regards to an overview of the drought situation in his region, and thus we would like to pose the same question to Mr. Manuel Shongora. Can you please just give us a brief overview or update of the current drought situation in your region and how it has affected elements such as food security, the residents' health, grazing, and so forth?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Manuel Jongora, Disaster Risk Management Section, Kunene region. In connection with drought situation in Kunene, it's becoming worsened and it's plagued the region for quite 8 years for now. So thereof, the situation hammered all the farmers because most of the farmers in the region, they depend on livestock farming and crop production. Currently, the situation is very much worsened because we only received few showers in November, which was almost 10%. In January, we only received 0.5 millimeter of rainfall only in some of the region. So these situations pocket the region, and all what I'm saying, food security in the region is insecure. People don't have food because all the grazing land have been totally completed, and most of our farmers, they live on communal land and commercial land in the south part of the Kunene. So I think we remember past there was an issue of felt fire in the area of Ucho, and most of our commercial farms, they've been affected. In the northern part of Kunene, because of this overgrazing, deforestations, and as it was no rain, so the situation becoming more worse. So all what I'm saying, currently the region are fighting to see what is the responses to these situations.
Okay.
Yeah, as we have did program for rural development services from Kunene Regional Council that support poor farmers. And we also have other program that funded through NILAREX that's supporting also farmers. One in Pupa and the other one in Opuo Rural. The Pupa one is, they are busy with plantation of bales, and the Opuo one, they are busy with plantation of forest, at least to keep the land moisture.
Okay.
When it's come to
Maybe Mr. Usura? Mr. Usura from Erongo Regional Council, if he can also just give us a brief overview of the situation in the region of Erongo. Hello, Mr. Usura, can you hear us? Hello? Okay. I suggest we can just move on and then we will get back to Mr. Usura once he links back with us online. This is where we can come to civic education. Mayor Likando, are there any civic education programs from the side of government that are taking place with regards to, let's say, changing weather patterns and how best our communities can readapt, whether short or long term, in order to mitigate the impact of drought? For example, programs like teaching them on planting or a crop that is drought resistant, or looking at the livestock perspective on minimizing and rotational grazing in order to prevent soil erosion, for example.
Yes, a number of those activities are taking place, especially in Kunene region. The agriculture extension offices continue to do their work, that of educating communities and farmers on available improved agriculture technologies that are inclusive of climate resilience strategies, the conservation agriculture methods, as well as the IREMA project that I have talked about. That project, through the Ministry of Agriculture, as it's funded by the Environmental Investment Fund, it, among others, is looking at promoting a range of climate resilience technologies for enhanced agriculture and livestock production, improved fodder management practices, support backyard gardening activities, promotion of drought tolerance breeds and animal stock farming practice. All those are indeed taking place through the Ministry of Agriculture, as well as a number of projects that are also implemented by the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism under climate change adaptations. A number of education programs are indeed taking place.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Osiku, we are quite aware of the fact that the Namibian landscape can sometimes be tricky and treacherous to maneuver around. We wanted to find out now, in your respective region, have you encountered situations where the factor of landscape or terrain has impeded or given you struggles for you to try and get assistance to people who most need it? For example, the marginalized who usually, and the indigenous who usually live in the remotest parts of these regions.
Yes, of course. You know, Omsat region is bordered with Kunene. And some parts of Kunene or some parts of Kunene is just the same as the parts of Omsati in the western part of the region. In terms of accessibility to some area, like in the area of Onamatanga, as I mentioned it earlier, the area of village like Ochenova, the village like Ochombata, some of these areas, the trucks are delivering food to that parts of the regions, and the path through the bush is not wide enough, and some of the area are rocky, and it's very difficult for a being truck to access to some parts of the areas, because the councillors have to announce in the radio that the food are coming and make sure that the path is widened, but it's not done as it is supposed to be.
Okay.
And as a result now, the tires of the truck are punched, and imagine now you are more than 50 kilometers away, and also the mirrors can be broken, and it's costly again to the program which is already run. And to get the tires on time or the spare parts, it's not so as it's supposed to be. That means the terrain of our area, like the area of Rakana and area of Sandy, is so worried sometimes. And also the driver is complaining. And sometimes you may drive now 2 cars. You drive the big truck close to that area, and then you drive again another small car so that this car can take it. But again, you have to take into consideration that it's sandy. Then that means now that is a burden to the regional council.
Yeah, yeah.
And also to the funding program.
Yeah, yeah. Very much so.
It's not so easy.
Yeah.
Not always.
Okay.
And sometimes it's delaying the distribution of food also.
Mr. Shongora, we just heard from Mr. Ausiku, who did allude to the fact that some areas in Omusate are similar to those in Kunene because they are bordering each other. Are these the type of struggles that you are also facing in your region with regards to landscape or terrain impeding assistance or aid? Mr. Shongora?
course.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, of course. The whole region of Kunene is mountainous, and which means we are all prone to the same situation. Accessibility to road and people is so much difficult, and the situation is hampering the distributions and the registration of affected communities. So it's also vice versa when it's come to people where they are living currently. You cannot even provide services there. You can't even drive there. Even if you want to drill a borehole that side, you can't reach there because now most people are going to area where it's grazing. So most grazing will be found in the mountains areas. So the situation is becoming worse and worse.
Mr. Shongora, is it possible then, or have you tried, for example, to enlist the assistance of the military, maybe with their helicopters to try and bring this food aid to the people in these remote areas?
Hello, yeah. There was a time when they were helping us. To deliver mass meal to those inhabitants in the area of Okakora, Onyelo, and Hekarachitindi. Due to the situation of resources and all things, at the moment, we never receive any assistance. However, we also have other mechanisms because when you reach that side, a staff member have to go, field workers, they have to go and reach those people, call them to come down because of these communication problems. So it will take you 3 days to take food to those people.
Okay, okay. Ms. Likando, in March 2021, if memory serves me right, parliamentarians in our August House were debating a motion that spoke to or called on government to budget proactively and move away from treating drought as an emergency at, these very dire times. Is there any action? Do we know of any that has taken place with regards to this debate that took place? If yes, what type of activities have been put in place to start the wheel?
Thank you. Before I touch this question, may I comment on the previous issues of terrain and transport challenges that are
Yes.
being experienced in the regions?
Yes, please.
There are plans in place currently. Cabinet has directed the Office of the Prime Minister to devise ways on how to improve or to reduce the logistic costs that are involved in the distribution of drought relief food. So with the assistance of the World Food Programme, WFP, we are putting measures in place to roll out. We have been piloting the voucher system in Kunene and Ohangwena regions. And plans are at advanced stage that come the next financial year. The intention is to transition from food distribution to voucher system where people can be given voucher with a value attached to it, and they are able to buy food on their own instead of distributing food with trucks. We are aware that there's a shortage of transport and trucks in that regard. So these plans are at advanced stage. Moving to the next question, the issue of budgeting. Yes, Cabinet has directed that drought especially shouldn't be treated as emergency anymore. It should be budgeted in a normal operational budget.
Yeah.
Drought actually impacts water provision, it impacts grazing and livestock support. All these are activities of the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform. So all that is required, it's really the Ministry of Agriculture to start budgeting for water provision in different regions into their national operational budget, so that when drought is declared, we don't need to run around putting money together. This money is basically for provision of water.
Okay.
It's basically for support of livestock and grazing. So if these budgets can be done at ministerial level, it will, relieve the disaster risk management fund so much. On food insecurity, all that is required is to strengthen the social safety nets that exists. When that is done, especially the support to marginalized communities, it will reduce the impact on food security in those regions. Therefore, the distribution of food, again, will be minimized. So the Ministry of Gender Equality and Child Poverty Eradication also need to scale up and absorb the budgeting of these activities into their operational budgets. Thank you.
Okay. And Melikanda, speaking on that, because you mentioned two ministries now that are, should I say custodian of some of these activity. In your opinion, and also just looking at our, let's say about 5 years or a decade of our budget, is it maybe possible that this responsibility financially can be shared between ministries to try and cumulatively, come up with a budget that can assist to this regard?
For social safety nets, I'm not sure how that can be shared among ministries, because the Ministry of Gender Equality and Poverty Eradication looks into all different kinds of social safety nets that are aimed at reducing vulnerability as a result of, a number of underlying factors. Yes, they can be consolidated, but for the Ministry of Agriculture, it's the only ministry that is responsible for water provision, unless if they look into the SOEs, such as NamWater, also to bring resources together and address the issue of water supply together, maybe it can, yes. But for the Office of the Prime Minister, Office of the Prime Minister does not receive a budget related to water supply. No. That money, that budget goes to the Ministry of Agriculture during a drought period. Although it may be announced that it's under the disaster fund, that budget is for the Ministry of Agriculture. They are the ministry that have got hydrologists that are responsible for siting boreholes, for drilling and all those. So it's used up by the Ministry of Agriculture. Thank you.
Custodian, Ministry of Agriculture. And I think what Ms. Likando is saying makes a lot of sense with the fact that when it comes to the reaction or the mitigating, actions that or efforts that can be placed in, they are mostly focused on water supply. And I think that's the biggest thing that creates a ripple effect when it comes to the impact of a drought. You are reminded that you can call us, and our line is 061, that's the area code. The number is 400-397, 400-397. That is the line here in the studio. You can add your voice, you can even ask questions to the respective representatives of the different offices. And we've got our social media platforms that are also open for the same purpose. On Facebook, we are at Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. That's our Facebook handle, Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. On YouTube, you can find us at the channel MICT Namibia. MICT Namibia, that is our YouTube channel handle. Getting back to the studio, we would like to ask Mr. Osiku that earlier on you made mention of the traditional authorities, and this brought up the question of what are, if you can just name a few to us, what are the local mechanisms that have been adapted, whether it is by the regional council, the traditional authorities, the communities, to try and find ways in which they can deal with the harsh effects of the drought, whether it is individually as units on their own or collectively as one unit from one region. But before you answer that, let us welcome our caller, that is David, who is calling us from Ondangwa. Good afternoon, David. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, ma'am?
Yes, no, we are well. Thank you very much for joining us. What is your input this afternoon?
No, I was just giving a question or suggestion. To the last year's name, Ricardo.
Yes.
She was talking about that the cabinet have instructed the Prime Minister to stop the drought relief and they come up with a voucher. But to me, my suggestion is the voucher for a person who is vulnerable, to give him a voucher from deep in the village. How is he going to utilize that voucher if he cannot afford to buy anything? That voucher requires a hike to go to the town to use that voucher. How are you going to do with it?
Okay. So basically, how is the voucher a better option from the drought food distribution?
Yes,
relief?
the drought relief was better than the voucher. The voucher will cost that person again who is vulnerable something else from the pocket to go to town to use the voucher.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
That is all.
Okay. Then we will pose that question to Ms. Likando. Maybe she can assist with a response. Thank you very much, David, for calling us. Ms. Likando?
Yes, as I have mentioned, we are not stopping with the distribution of food. What we are doing is we are transitioning. We recognize that as you transition, it's not something that you do at once. You do away with the previous program. You look into circumstances where you see that here it's possible for us to use the voucher system, you do that. Where it's not practical for a voucher system, you continue with food distribution.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically, you're looking into a mixed type of approach if it is necessary.
Yes.
Okay. So hopefully that would actually somehow balance the scales where community and government find a middle point to try and mitigating other elements or issues that arise from the different options that are in play, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, in addition just to that, the good thing about the voucher system is that it will boost the market system, the local economy.
Yeah.
It will promote the local production as you are able to buy from vendors, local vendors. as opposed to food distribution where we buy food from bigger markets only. We
Yeah.
are not supplying supporting the local vendors among the community. That's
Okay.
the advantage of using the voucher system.
Okay, okay. So economical boost for local producers and vendors. We do have another caller on the line. That is Silas from Windhoek. Good afternoon, Silas, and welcome to our session this afternoon.
Good afternoon, my dear sisters, and good afternoon to your listeners. Good afternoon to your guests. Madam, actually, I'm listening to your show about the sustenance of agricultural purposes and the rainfalls of Namibia, which is not getting more rainy. First and foremost, I would like to say that this to the Minister of Energy and the Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Local Government and Housing under the policies of the regions to all the regions. Let us say that 4 regions in Namibia have more rain than the other regions. The weak regions that have more or less waterfall. Why can't we have made use of these regions, which are mostly have more rainfall, when it comes to agricultural purposes, where you can finalize these regions in terms of maize meal or any other crop that you can give to this particular regions are mostly getting rainfall. Instead of we gonna end of the day giving regions that are not having more rainfall, and then the crops they will plant, it will not going to be impact on them, and then it will be a disaster end of the day. So first and foremost, that is first the point I wanted to raise. The second thing here, so my dear, I don't know whether it's representative from the Prime Minister office, he was speaking about giving draft release in a technology system whereby a card. We were raising this issue for maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And this issue is not yet really discussed and come to a conclusion that whereby poor people, as we've been given Namibia 1.6 million, is under poverty line. Can the ministry and the regions whereby you can have this system? We have FMB, we have Bank Window, we have National Bank of Namibia, we have NetBank, we have what you call it, the Namibia Bank collective system, where you can able to do that. These people who are supposed to be giving money for every region, you go by region by testing, and that thing of 1,000, I think it can be mostly possible, because why? Money rotates. Money does not stick one side. If you give your citizen, do not think that this citizen will going to misuse it, because they are going to buy food and the money will go back to the banks and money go to the government. The government is going to give back to the citizen. I think the only best way to save people's lives and to make people impact lives, not to be beggars in your country. It is a way of also we have what we call the youth. They are complaining they want to be agricultural. Why can't we have these youth that are looking for job opportunity? We have the Ministry of Youth and Culture. Aren't you able to talk to these people? Because them, they always concentrate on sports. Can't you able to get them more of these people that they can able to start doing agricultural like I mentioned? Rainfalls are mostly affecting these places. You can make use of these people so that Namibia can be also given a peace and freedom of whatever we are doing. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope that it will be very good lesson for all of us in the future.
Okay. Thank you very much, Silas from Windhoek. Anybody would like to comment on what Mr. Silas stated? I know that some of the points that he brought forth, Ms. Likando, you did actually touch on those. Is there anything else, maybe Mr. Ausiko, that you'd like to add? Ms. Likando?
He touched on the issues of why can't we make use of the regions, for example, that are receiving more rain to produce food or products that can be given to the regions that have got less rain.
Yeah.
It's an ideal situation. However, we have very high rates of poverty in our regions. If you are to do that, it means you are promoting the economy of one region at the expense of the other. You don't want Kunene, for example, just to be supplied by food that is being produced from Kavango West or Kavango East, and they are not learning the skills to produce food on their own. So you want to teach people in Kunene so that they are able and equipped to produce fodder that they require mostly for their animals. They are able to do backyard gardening for food that they eat. Sometimes you produce food that is consumed in one region and it's not easily accepted in the other region. But then in the efforts of reducing the rates of poverty, if people can produce their own food, you know, you reduce the poverty rates and you also increase food security in that region.
Okay.
The other issue, I think he's somehow advocating for issue of cash transfers as opposed
I think
to...
I think he was mirroring what you were saying. Just he was just giving suggestions on how else or how better it can be done. I think he was referring to the voucher system that you alluded to, on how it would be a good system because, again, as you said, the boosting, somehow it becomes a cycle where this money does go back, it does boost the economy, and it goes back into the government coffers, where once again government can redistribute it to the needy people. We are running a bit out of time, but we finally were able to get Mr. Wahorekwa Usura on the line, and we would like to hear from him on the situation that is in Erongo region with regards to the drought. Maybe he can give us a brief and a quick overview. We would also like to hear from him in the same breath whether there are any terrain issues that impede their efforts to assist people, especially those in the remotest of areas, to try and assist them with drought relief or anything of such sort. And we would also like to hear from him what are the different units in the Erongo region, whether it's the regional council, traditional authority, or the community themselves. What are the different type of activities that they have come up with to try and mitigate the effects of drought? Mr. Usura, thank you for being able to join us once again.
Good afternoon, and thank you also as well to your listeners. At last time I could connect with you. Thank you for the opportunity as well. Let me just be brief. I will start with the question on the terrain, accessibility, and so on when it comes to service delivery and taking that. In Erongo, actually, really we don't experience such hindrances.
Okay.
With regard to the overview of the current situation in terms of the drought and so on, this region, the previous drought relief intervention that have been suspended for the other regions, Erongo remain drought-stricken, and we've been continuing as well with drought relief measures, mitigating the impact of the drought. But I have also as well to mention the following. Erongo traditionally is a region that actually experienced a 2-year cyclical dry spell. However, the current drought spell has been a bit an extended one since 2012-2013. The region still reeling from that drought, still today. What we in that have also as well resulted in actually what we call groundwater scarcity. What we also as well refer to as water drought. Right. What we have also as well done in terms of mitigating, we have drought relief interventions. 10 million was apportioned for this specific purpose, and now where we are looking at the following interventions. A short pipeline of 20 kilometers in Omashete area,
and drilling of 11 boreholes, rehabilitation of 10 boreholes. These have been completed. The rehabilitation of the 10 boreholes have just been completed. We are mobilizing as of next week to drill 11 boreholes. And also as well, the fourth interventions is the restocking of materials and supply for the regional stores in order to carry out some infrastructure rehabilitation. In fact, this region, the water supply in the region is mainly through boreholes, but over the years, some of the boreholes are yielding inadequate volume of water. And now we are also experiencing some salty water at some of the water points, which means that we need also as well to treat the borehole at borehole level in order to so that it can be consumed by human and as well as livestock as well. So that is some of the interventions that we are carrying out now. But overall also as well, the water supply infrastructure in the region, because of inadequate funding, it's in a very poor condition. This also as well lead to major breakdowns, frequently so high breakdowns, because the preventative maintenance is also as well an aspect that is lacking as a result of inadequate funding. With regard to the traditional authority and all the stakeholders, Erongo is blessed with the synergy between all these key stakeholders, from planning, from implementation. These are done with the know-how of everybody. There is an input. There is also as well a buy-in from the community in this regard. That is what we say, that there is a synergy between all the stakeholders in the region. That is what I can contribute to this end.
Okay. Wow. We are pleased to know that there are so many efforts that are going into trying to mitigate the situation, especially from what you have stated now and the different boreholes that are being drilled and so on. So hopefully with all these efforts, something tangible could be produced to try and assist the residents of these communities. It is quite clear that the issue of drought is one that will be recurring, or that is recurring in the country. It is good to know that to a certain degree, the mindsets of Namibians, inclusive of our leaders, which is our parliamentarians, is shifting. It is clearly shifting in the direction in which we are advised to be more proactive and, accept, one would say, our fate to the fact that we are a semi-arid country and we need to adjust the way that we approach crises like the drought and make them part of our everyday forms of planning. We would like to thank our different panelists who came in and put in their input from the different regions, and hopefully for those that are out there in the other regions that are not as stricken as these three regions, where they can give a hand to assist the different farmers, the different community members, the marginalized people who are struggling in these regions, please do so. I believe that the respective officers will welcome the call of assistance with open arms. I mean, this has been over a decade of a drought persisting in these regions, and even the current rains that we're experiencing now have not really done much to put a dent into their suffering. From myself, Shianwa Desire Kahia, this afternoon, along with our production crew, we would like to thank you very much for joining us. We do invite you to a special edition of the Government Information Center, which will be taking place tomorrow morning between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Until then, goodbye.